morning, everyone. Welcome. I think there's some smog out there on some of the highways. Let's get some calls. Welcome, everybody. Here we are. Would you mind sharing what you told me this morning about becoming? Are you ready? Ready for going down? Here we are. Good to see everybody. Voila. Everyone's going to share each other chat.
That's okay. Hi. Sometimes things are of a continuity and it's hard to know where to start when someone says share something. So I think, okay, did you hear me before? Okay. There. Okay.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm going to start again because people said they couldn't hear. Is this better? Thank you. Okay, good to know. Sometimes it's hard to know where to start when someone says, tell me what you were saying this morning, because things come in as sort of a continuous way. So it's not really a start. So I'm going to back up what I think Rudy is thinking of as a start just a little bit and say 3 weeks ago or so in Qigong, I had an experience of a golden stick coming in, just turning slowly end over end, about 3 feet long, if that matters. And instead of grabbing it or just watching it, I put my hand out and met it. Like the stick was moving in space and I met it, much like a baseball player in the outfield catches a fly ball. They meet it, they don't grab it. And I met the stick, and although it looked gold when it fell into my hand or my hand met it, it felt like wood. But it looked gold and I knew it to be gold, but it felt like wood, the warmth of wood. And I opened my hand again, and the stick came out, and the end of the stick went to this point, not a third eye, but above the third eye, and went to the top of my head and touched different points of my body, and then lined itself up parallel with me and touched me so that one part of the stick was always touching me, and it simply rolled around my trunk, my torso, all the way around, and then went back and a little bit away from me, did not break into pieces, but instead became pieces instead of a whole. So there weren't broken edges. It didn't look like a branch that's torn. And now there were 4 pieces where there was 1 stick. And it lined itself up like this. So there were 4 sticks here sideways, golden sticks, that then simply dissolved into me. And that felt really good. And I've been working with fear, my own fear, ever since the election result. I'd worked with fear before, but this was different because I realized, maybe for the first time, how deeply dependent I am on being held by people I don't know, like the President of the United States in some way had been holding me, and I didn't even know that. And when that rug got pulled out, I continued to have a lot of fear. And so I would try to sit with it, but it wasn't very productive because fear was more dominant and came as a thing, and I was a thing, and I was missing something. And instead of meeting that stick, I was wanting to grab at where's my container, where's the thing that holds me. And I couldn't grab anything inside, so I kept looking outside. And when I sat with it for several weeks, what came was, when I am in fear, I can invoke protection. I can invoke the deities. I can invoke a dakini. I can invoke a lineage. I can invoke my own ancestors. And if I become that, if I become each one of those things, so they are no longer a thing, but they are instead me, and I am not a thing, and we know this, then that fear diminishes or disappears completely. And I can be with myself in a way that we hear in the texts we read as unadorned. No accoutrement, no clothing. It's naked awareness. Does not have a fear component. Even if something scary comes, it's not fear. If, however, I am in fear, and I invoke the lineages and the dakinis and the dakas and the dakinis, whatever it is I invoke, and I do not become it, I keep them posted around me. I feel the container that they give me. I get some benefit, but I've limited myself because I am cloaked. I am adorned still. My own awareness remains hidden from me because myself remains hidden from me. And my own adorning of my own invocation continues to hide me from me. And when that happens, I live in fear and must continue to invoke a lineage or an ancestry. I must continue to grab instead of meet. And going a little beyond this experience, when I went into the invoking and becoming, a word came in. I love words, so that's great. And it was chod, like the chod that we know, and yul, Y-U-L. And the U had the two little dots over it, chod yul. So I looked it up, and it's Tibetan for chod is cutting, but in a more general sense, chod is action. And yul was sphere. And so it refers to a sphere of action. When we can practice skillful means and wisdom, I believe we're practicing it from that chod yul, that sphere of action, which is the naked, unadorned awareness. And it all just came together. Thank you.
I'm becoming what I am. That great mantra. So, this whole drama of experiencing through duality, non-duality, and non-duality within duality. And there's a certain way devotion arises with teachers, gurus, deities, archetypes, the entire thing. And devotion opens the door. But paradoxically, devotion has you just at the door, to use Yenshin's language, the door of Qigong. And to enter the door, you and I become that which all those phenomenal expressions are. Huh? And when talking, it was so helpful, Aaron's direct description. We've been focusing, for the summer a lot, right? On opening up the door of the archetypal dimension even more, huh? in a non-dual sense, and how we can actually be with each other, help each other to enter the non-dual states. And we've been practicing somewhat through demonstration since over the summertime for quite some time, what it is and how to enter into that through a me and you experience, or us and them experience, and actually with the power of invocation, which is not the same as the power of identification, which is more mental, that and arises out of the shamanistic world ultimately. I mentioned that great book, The Civilized Shamans, on the Tibetan lamas arising out of shamanism, but that power of invocation in the deeper sense, the truer sense of bringing forth that which is already there. And that way understanding the archetypical dimension as a dimension of eminence with us manifesting the world, and not some transcendental otherness out there that you're begging for a buck. So, like as in help me. Okay? So we'll sit for a moment, and we're going to continue on with this. Just a little bit from Carl Jung right now. And Carl Jung describes the human unconscious, the deep unconscious, as this hidden cosmological archetypical dimension of our being in the world. Then he would describe, as we know, a personal unconscious, a psychological unconscious that reflects personal history and experience forgotten, or even foreclosed before it was actually memorized and in memory. But then he focuses again, there's this another unconscious that is more primary, more pre-reflective, more cosmological in origin. And then we shift that language to the language of Dzogchen, the ancient tradition of Tibetan Buddhism, or you can go to Shaivism or other traditions, where this archetypical manifestation is Sambhogakaya realm, another language of us working within the Sambhogakaya dimension. This realm of experience. And this Sambhogakaya realm, so here's the ordinary realm, okay? It's us, and then there's this other dimension, and that manifesting this ordinary dimension. But as you step into that dimension of perception, you experience the light and forms of light and energy, and these forms of light and energy configuration become everything and anything. So Nirmanakaya is the actual experience of ourself in the contextual situations unfolding, that's situations like this situation, in time and space, as well as the unfolding of our personal psychological experience. So there's both the phenomena outside and the phenomena of knowingness. So Nirmanakaya is the dimension of our ordinary life. And there's this deeper, other foundational ground of that creates everything and anything, and that was called the Dharmakaya, this pure potentiality, pure creativity, and from which everything and anything manifests, though it's not a thing. So Dharmakaya is ground awareness, the ground of being, and these are not simply, they're metaphors, but they're actually experientially close. It does feel like the ground of being when you are in that medium of perception. So Dharmakaya is being, but being is not a being, but manifests all beings as being. So the archetypal cosmological view, where they express, so in between the Sambhogakaya, in between Nirmanakaya, us, and this pure potentiality creating everything and anything, is the Sambhogakaya, as the elements become manifest as all these circumstances, And so as Erin is describing her apparitional experience, her perceptual experience, it is the flavor of Sambhogakaya within the Nirmanakaya. We went through those different, how they blend with each other. I just want to mention a few things, thinking about Chant Bala, that this point up here is often where Swami Muktananda would touch Shaktipat. He wouldn't necessarily touch the third eye as such. Occasionally, there was this little point right up here. And then also all these points are Shaktipat points, okay? And also at times the language of the Guru's stick was also a phrase, okay, that sometimes would be used. So you can see this from this frame with my prejudiced understanding of the stick, and then being touched with the awakening of awareness one more time. These points here are often also where a person is touched, like so, to help awaken the Kundalini Shakti at one more level, okay? To help bring forth, and often we'll actually practice that at times where those points are touched a little bit below the dantian with some discretion, and then you go into the energy, and there's a bulb there, okay? And sometimes you can actually feel the resonance of the bulb, and then as you enter that energy, you then raise it up a bit, because you want that energy to go up, okay? Just like the two ladies are in here singing the Kundalini Stavaha, which from this frame is also a Kundalini. And what is the Kundalini? The Kundalini is the field of awareness manifesting itself in more explicitness. It's making the implicit explicit, huh? It's like invocation makes the implicit explicit, bringing it into explicitness, which brings it into more direct experientialness in our life, right? And it's the power of experiencing. And so those points are also very important, and it helps awaken that energy that it moves up as we embody the divine light, which is the Kundalini, is the light arising in us. That making sense? So we had and when we describe these experiences, and if we're in these experiences, those experiences beyond words and letters, there's also a transmission that takes place, that even just now would take place. As we re-enter these experiences, the experience again comes alive, right? And it's alive for us, and it's also alive for others who are connected with us at the level of awareness itself. If it's mind alone, you can get another little nugget of belief, and you can hold on to it. But actually, belief doesn't necessarily invoke anything. What understanding does, if belief is understanding, can help us hold what has already been given at the non-conceptual level. Blah, blah, blah. Raise your hands if that makes sense for you, okay? And this is something we all can do. So let me continue on with this a little bit more. So the archetypical cosmological view, whether expressed in Eastern Tantric philosophy, that would be a Tantric description she was describing for us just now, right? Or the Western continental philosophy like Phenomenology, or Western archetypical psychology, allows us to see the manifestations of all phenomena as the manifestations of primordial awareness itself. Primordial potentiality, primordial reality, huh? We do not get caught in that this is unreal. We think that's a not useful approach. For some, it can be really useful. There's no one way to liberation. But actually, it's more human, more validating of our experience, to experience everything as actuality. Huh? And the actuality is the manifestation of the light of awareness itself. Huh? This is not a path of dissociativeness, neither here nor there. Okay? So the Sambhogakaya manifestations are the cosmological energies becoming forms and actions, becoming us and our circumstances in our life, becoming our world. The Sambhogakaya is intrinsically eminence. Huh? Eminence means the eminent plane. It's here and now, unborn, undone, manifesting. It is not transcendental, meaning out there, some divine otherness that I'm grasping for. But it's also through the manifestation of this archetypical eminence that transcendental experience opens up for us. By transcendental meaning this great openness opens up for us as the elements which are the manifestation start taking all these configurations, and we begin to experience them through translucidity. Within this archetypical view, the emphasis is not on prediction or distractions of prediction, but the emphasis is rather on our existential, experiential task, if you will, of in owning our archetypal luminous energies and their configurations in order to experience freedom and self-liberation within our life circumstances in our mind. There is this existential freedom in regards to relating to and within these cosmological energies, and liberation from being compulsively contained within the circumstances, where I'm locked in the circumstances. There's no space, there's no light, there's no translucidity, and within my own mind, which it often at times has no light and no space, and it's just locked, like a dog tied to a thing. So both circumstances and mind reflect the correlated archetypical configurations. There are many, many ways, and no one way to enter into this conscious experiential relationship with these often unconscious, meaning not necessarily experienced directly and known, archetypical energies and these luminous field configurations of both mind and circumstance. But we've been focusing on these different ways of entering. Sometimes we can use a text, right? We can use a text in a certain way. But if we're in the awareness state and we're experiencing the text in the field, then it's not simply a mentalistic moment. And at that moment, that's how we connect to the awareness that manifests the text. Ultimately, we're connecting to awareness that manifests the text. So you asked if that makes sense to you, okay? Now, so one of the things, and I know you guys know this, but it's like another little review, is how to enter the archetypical realm. How to do it. I can know tons about it, but it's all in my mind. I'm an anemic academic. Are you with me? How to enter. And again, all this doesn't depend on this sort of knowledge, but for most of this, it's natural experiences for people. But as psychologists, often we take natural experience and we look at it through a certain viewpoint, sometimes contaminating it with our intellectual distortions. So let's look at this again. Our experiential and existential awareness is the instrument to experience the cosmological dimension of our mind. So in a certain way, we have to enter into awareness to experience the archetypal, since the archetypal is simply configurations of awareness. The state is not being in mind alone. It's sort of a catch-22. The beginning is the most difficult. If I'm locked into my mind alone, right? And you've got some papers on that. I think we sent a lot of papers out, thanks to Amy, on mind as nor of form and awareness as nor of being. So I'd like you guys to read some of those 3 papers. There's one in Winnicott, and I forget the other one. So if I'm in mind alone, right? I'm in thinking, feeling, sensation, memory. And often awareness is like simply attention, but that's part of the mind. That's not the dimension of awareness that we're referring to. But if I'm in mind alone, I'm not in the dimension of the Sambhogakaya. And I'm not actually experiencing the Nirmanakaya as such. And I'm definitely not going to experience the Dharmakaya, pure potentiality. In a way, one way of looking at these different dimensions, including when I'm in mind alone, is it is different mediums of perception. It is mediums. I'm in one medium right now. I'm in my mind alone. I'm in the mind medium. That's a nice medium. if I can shift from the mind medium alone and enter into awareness with my mind together in these circumstances, the medium of my experience changes immediately. And actually, I'm doing it a little bit right now. So now I feel resonance arising. I feel resonance with Laura arising in the field. I feel my body starting to open more as the field opens within me in this phenomenon. If I go back to mind alone, and what's so interesting about being in mind alone, if I'm in all my different faculties in mind alone, I'm pretty good. More often than not, when I'm in mind alone, I might be in my favorite, and Jung would talk about this a lot, I might be in my favorite modality. I might be in my thinking modality, totally thinking, locked into repetitious, redundant, obsessional, compulsive thought. We know that one, right? And you're like in a jail, right? And there's no space. It's thinking, really. There's no space for thought as such, right? Or I might be located in my sensation. I'm really sensation oriented. More please, more. Or too much. When I'm sensation oriented, it can either be more, or everything can be too much from a sensation point of view, right? When you know that one? When it's too much, right? Or I might be simply in affect, and I'm feeling everything, every moment. I feel my feelings, and I feel your feelings, and I'm just totally overwhelmed, and I'm exhausted, And there's no continuity. I have no stability because I'm one feeling after another feeling. Because even these past 15 minutes, I felt all sorts of different feelings here. So if I'm totally identifying with my feeling, I'm eternally changing in a rather radical way, Or fantasy. If I'm in fantasy, I'm in phantasmagoria. There's this dimension here, but there's this other construction that I'm really relating to most of the time. And I might think it's divinity, but it's really just another fantasy. Or I might be in the past, because my internalization, so I might always be in the past, right? I might be in the past because of trauma. I might be in the past because of trauma. Or I might be in the past because the past was so good, the good old days, and now it's shit. You with me? Or I might be in the future, which is neither here nor there, but I'm waiting for Godot. You guys follow this? So in the mind, there's a certain medium, and even within that medium, there's particular modalities that I can get located in. So I am not going to, I can have a lot of devotion and be in my mind alone. You with me? A lot of yearning and be in my mind alone. But that yearning is really because I'm not where I am, okay, in the deeper senses. And so as I begin, however that happens for me, one day, I become aware of my mind. I hope this is not too redundant. But I actually become aware of my mind. I begin to experience some space between myself and my mind. I've entered mindfulness, to use that language, or I've shifted into awareness of my mind. Sometimes a tragic moment can do that. Sometimes an ecstatic state can do that. For whatever reasons, falling in love can do that. For whatever reason, there's now space between myself and my mind. Let's do that together right now. And in Western phenomenology, they describe it, please suspend your mind just a moment, okay? And what happened to all these people when they suspend their mind, then something started to happen for them, And they started to experience awareness manifesting itself. Winnicott went through the same thing, He was a wonderful ego psychoanalyst, and then he started to see who changes and doesn't change. And he began to experience that some sort of way people could enter what he called transitional space. Again, the word space, which is that space of awareness, opens up. And if they can locate themselves in their space, they're not quite located in one of their modalities. And with that, the door opens. He also realized that if he was working with people, if he wasn't in that space, it was highly improbable that they would be in that space also. It still charges the same fee, okay? Gotta make a living, right? Yes? Because it transitioned, because it allowed, number one, change to take place. He was a pediatrician. He was a pediatrician by training, and he became a nurse. But he also studied babies and kids, and how kids could separate. You with me? And go off and come back and go off. And he would notice that those who could usually had some type of object or something that symbolized something as they left the maternal space, and he would see them going into transitional space. He also see them gazing, just gazing, open-eyed, and so he would see the kids entering transitional space. You with me? Well, he wouldn't use that language, but he is referring to awareness. And we don't necessarily, we're not arguing for altered states of consciousness, because that can be a dissociative game, okay? But arguing for the natural state of awareness to arise, which is the self. And he understood that the sense of the self arises in space, because myself is not my mind. I used to think myself was my mind. I used to think, I'm going to run with this a little bit, or I thought myself was my feelings. So I began to realize that myself was not my mind. Now, I think certain Buddhists also realized the self was not their mind, but then they thought there was no self. It was a useless thing. You with me? I think that's a terrible mistake myself, okay? Because I think the sense of self does arise, except the sense of self is not my mind, or it's not my, it's much broader than that. But it is a sense of the self. Even Lung Shenpa talks about this. And it's a sense of self that keeps expanding and gets broader and broader and more encompassing, which is ultimately non-duality itself. So let's go back to this little step, the natural unfolding into non-duality. So I'm in my awareness of my mind, right? Are we with me? Are you aware of your mind? You actually go through it. You really want to get the little drama down, however that works. But suspension, the epoche, is one way. If you can learn to suspend your mind a little bit, it's really great. So now I'm aware of my mind. Now I could stay there, and may have stayed there an awful long time, aware of my mind. I was a Gestalt experiential psychotherapist, right? And it really helped. But one day, I started to focus actually on the awareness of my awareness. And that to me was a watershed moment. You with me? I actually started to become aware of my awareness. Now, sometimes I might do that, but I'm still in my mind. It's a fantasy. And so you know what's going to happen to me? Absolutely nothing. It really is an art form. And it takes really integrity to become aware of our own awareness. And we start to experience, well, what is this awareness? So I start to focus on it. We can do it right now together. And as we focus on it, it starts to open up as space, right? You feel more space. And then we stay with the space. And then I also start to feel more energy, huh? Whether you call it Shakti or Chi, there's more energy. Let's just do that. And even as we start focusing, we are actually invoking. Because what we focus on will come forth. If you focus. So now there's more energy. Let's invoke more energy there. And as we stay with the space and the energy, we start to have a bit more clarity arising, where it's just this awareness. And then there's also, we actually begin to see more light, huh? More light. Now, I start to, and then I stop my little meditation. I get up and I go back into my mind alone. I'm now back in my mind alone. And my medium of perception has changed immediately. I was in one medium before, and now I'm back in the earlier medium of, I'm now seeing and tasting the world different. I have a little memory about that. It influences me some sort of way, but it's now I'm back into kind of a religious belief system. Hope and hopelessness relating to each other. So I go back, then I start to feel, wait a minute, I'm going to remain in awareness as much as I can. That is my path. Everything else is quite incidental to me remaining in awareness. So as I start to remain in awareness, I start to have a relationship to this awareness, this self, if you will. but self that's not my mind, and not witness consciousness either, I start to experience this opening more and more of light and resonance, which is the great compassion. So then, because I'm now remaining in it, so I walk up the stairs, I'm eating my breakfast, I'm going to start working, and I am actually determined. Ikta Shakti. Not the determination of mind alone, but the determination of awareness alone. To remain in awareness, no matter what the fuck happens. You with me? No matter what happens, I'm going to remain in awareness. And I might pop out that immediately because I'm putting too much effort in it in one way, and I pop out harder. So then I'm just straining, getting hemorrhoids. So then I go back to awareness and how to relate to this awareness, and yet still feel action. As the Shaivite masters say, knowledge is action. In this sphere, the roundness of it all, there's action. So as I'm starting now to be in awareness, the only way I can be in awareness and walk around is integrate my mind. So now, the task of integrating my mind into this awareness. And I'm having to integrate, sometimes it's step by, sometimes I just integrate my seeing. There's Laura, and now I'm feeling the resonance with Laura. And now to me, Laura has more light emanating from her. She'd had no light before for me. But now I feel this light in her, in me, and I'm staying in this resonance. And also, I'm feeling now in Laura. In this ordinary thing, I'm feeling into Laura because my awareness is in her, because now I'm starting to enter a little state. And it's not super duper pooper super stuff. I'm now entering non-duality as a plain ordinary human being, right? So now I'm starting to feel a state of oneness with Laura at this moment, a sense of oneness, which is the great sense of compassion, as Yang Tang Rinpoche would so often say, huh? It's not just wishing Laura well. Good luck, Laura. So out of this state now, because I'm maintaining it, I'm sustaining it, and then it's also sustaining me. The paradox is, as soon as I start sustaining it, it starts sustaining me. There is always a relational drama here. So now I'm now in ordinary awareness, what we might call Manakaya, with awareness there. So my medium is no longer mind alone. My medium is the oneness, the non-duality of my mind now being in my awareness state together, right? I need both. If I'm only in awareness, I can't wipe myself. I have to have someone else to do it. But to know things, to know forms, to know flesh, this mind. That's why the mind is so fantastic. That's why duality is so fantastic. There you are. Here I am. So cool, huh? Now, what happens as I'm maintaining this, I also have friends, so different teachers, and I think there are generational fields of all sorts. And so I do relate to my generational fields with me. Teachers, friends, traditions. That tradition might be good for you, but it really stinks for me. It doesn't fit my preference. Yours is great for you, but definitely not mine. You can have yours. I like mine. It's like ice cream. It fits for me. It makes sense for me. I see reality as reality. Actuality, manifesting. You don't have to. I don't care. Indifferent. So as I hold on to this being held, something starts to open then. The door starts to open now. It opens in my dream life. I start having dreams. Holy cow, there's this dream opening up for me. Some teacher on the edge of a boat laughing. Ha 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 ha. I'm rowing a boat. Smells like shit. And then I look on the side and this is blue light. This whole dimension starts to open now, right? just naturally. Who is that? Who is that person? What is this stuff? So then the Sambhogakaya dimension starts to open for me. The archetypal engines. And the archetypal happens to be using a particular form of that guy or that woman. But it is the naked awareness itself that self-reveals itself to me. I'm getting informed by that now. I might be using that face or this face. I might be using your face. But now the archetypal dimension starts to open up for me. That's an amazing thing to have that start to open, right? And then I start to experience more light and energy. And I start to experience forms of light and forms of energy actually manifesting as stuff. That actually has survival implications. It's really, it's not just a solipsistic moment, but the actual arising of Sambhogakaya is profoundly relational. The archetypes are both dual and non-dual. In one level, I look at an archetypal thing, and there's duality. In that story, there was duality, sticks and touches and all that. And at the same time, there was profound non-duality of the light manifesting itself simultaneously in that moment. Say yes if you're understanding that. The kini appears in front of me. People see a lot of this here. We have good fortune. And then I look. And now she's outside of me. And then I realize in that relational moment, that is a manifestation, not of my mind, but of primordial awareness itself. And as I become that, right? And become her, I become her as me. I start experiencing that direct perception more. So I might sometimes use a text. So my dreams is one way of entering into the Sambhogakaya realm. Usually they're big dreams, right? Raise your hands if you understand that. We did that when Mary was here. We shared the Sambhogakaya stuff, okay? Now Sambhogakaya is tricky though, as you see the deities, and I begin to experience them as my own self, and they disappear at that moment, right? I am now, it's not I have a little outfit on. But sometimes we can think we are the deity, just as c'est moi alone, and we go through that phase. You with me? We go through phases. It's a very fine phase to go through, but you begin to realize it without the outfits. You with me? Say yes if you understand. So there's a pain of devotion. But if you say you love Mary, the Divine Mother, in that form, or whatever form you like. But I've actually been with many people who that's one of the great things about being a therapist. You learn all kind of stuff, and people, especially if you allow yourself to be in the field. What a life! It's the best gift you can possibly have. And then you see Mary appearing to people, and you can see her keep coming into them. And you know what happens? What happens when she starts to come into them? They run. They run for the hills. They run for the hills. You must have felt like running one time, didn't you? Don't you? Because that inowning, you're just not worthy. You're just an unworthy piece of shit. Or you don't want to lose that identity you have as a dog. So the Sambhogakaya realm, as it starts manifesting, you keep it in a devotional frame. You keep loving mama and papa. And it's great to love mama and papa. And you really want to love the person who was your mother and your father as their own self without being mama and papa, right? Patricide, as Jung calls it, or Freud called it. You want to go beyond them, whoever the them is, being the carrier of the archetype for you. Right? So as that starts to happen, the next door opens. All these little doors. I always see doors one time as a kid, just and paint doors. So one door opens, And it's not necessarily a nice logical sequence. Then the next door opens, so then the door of the Dharmakaya opens, huh? Now, as the door of the Dharmakaya opens, they describe everything as exhausting. Phenomena exhaust. It disappears. Now, or it just changes. Now, there's a double entendre to that. So as the Dharmakaya opens, luminous darkness opens, sometimes everything disappears and you're just in luminous darkness. And there's no thingness whatsoever. But it's filled with luminous dark light. It's like studying about the dark holes in space, And most of these things of the archetypes are manifested both physically and subtly, right? That's one of the great things. What astrology is, we go to another way of entering the archetypal is through astrology also, right? Astrology is one way of reading the archetypes. But it's not looking at them as the deities. It's looking at them as the planetary energies, which themselves are considered deities. But one way the Dharmakaya rises, nothing changes whatsoever except that everything is in total oneness, huh? So phenomena is still appearing. So there's one way the phenomena disappears, and there's another way the phenomena returns without disappearing, the second phase. We're going to pause for a second. So each of these moments, we should wake up, each of these moments is a medium of perception. It's not content. You can have all the content down, but it's a different medium of perception. So what is happening as this unfolds naturally, from being in mind alone to being awareness of mind to being aware of awareness and all the phenomena, is the medium of perception is changing. And then finally Sambhogakaya opens, and Sambhoga and Dharmakaya opens. And then the fifth and fourth, Svavikaya, I'm in this mode that holds the whole thing. And that's where we're at right now. We're focusing more, trying to bring forth the archetypical in our life. Anybody want to say anything right now? That little blurb? Yes, Thomas. Action is a good question. I'd like to respond to your action this way. When I'm in mind alone, action arises out of discharge. There's this discharge. There's a moment, something's happening here, and I'm hungry. It's a need discharge phenomenon. There's change, but it's out of discharge. There's some energy being discharged, okay? I'm really hungry, I'm really pissed off, I'm set, whatever it might be. So actually, some of Freud's early descriptions of the instinctive discharge model, right, is very useful and covers a lot of people's behavior, including our president, okay? So you have a need discharge thing, and rage and all the rest. But as we get integrated into the awareness, the emotions start to change a bit. I mentioned this last week too. Rather than the emotions being dischargedness, they become medium of resonance. The emotional life changes for us and it becomes more direct resonance to the situation. In that way, there's an immediacy of action that's not impulsiveness, but it's a direct resonance to what's happening right now. The medium is changed of my entire body. And so my entire embodiment is now changing. And my entire embodiment is becoming more resonant, more direct, and more light. So I'm becoming a bit more refined in my experience. And the same thing, Tantra. Talking to death here. What is Tantra? We can talk about sex for 2 seconds, okay? Make it interesting, okay? So sexuality at a certain level is primarily discharge phenomena. The aim is discharge, a la Freudian stuff, and orgasm, discharge. the American way. Now, in the tantric world, it is not discharge at all. In the tantric world, it's not sexuality, really. It is eros being assimilated and metabolized, that there's not the goal of discharge, but ongoing resonance of the energy. It becomes another way of resonance. So you can look at it from discharge, you can look at anger this way, you can look at the affects in different way, where becomes an experience of resonance. But resonance to the situation will have action to it with immediacy. What I'm experiencing, action in that circle happens. There's no distance between the resonance and action. Muktananda would talk about there's no distance between resonance and action. Action means change. Dzogchen awareness is the drama of stillness and movement simultaneously. It is not stillness alone. You with me? And at that point, it leaves Narguna. It leaves much of Buddhism. And the same thing with Shaivism also. One of the differences between Shaivism, and this is, we've been around a long time, so I'm just trying to give some summary. One of the differences between Shaivism and Dzogchen is Shaivism is primarily written entirely in the archetypical language. It's archetypical language from the very beginning, Shaivism. Whereas Dzogchen, and that particular form of Buddhism, and not unlike phenomenology, actually starts psychologically. And then it goes from psychology and you go the steps. And in that way, it's a little bit more assimilatable, at least for moi as a contemporary person. Though I love Shaivism, but Shaivism, the entire story is an archetypical story. And that's why sometimes it can give you a lot of fruition, but you don't quite know where your psychology fits in at certain points. Somebody else want to say anything else? Yes, welcome. Yes, please.
So we're talking about us as individuals entering the archetypical realm, but what about us as a nation entering an archetypical realm?
Let me help you with that immediately. To enter we actually are the archetypical realm right now. And right now, in the archetypical realm of the planetary things, our nation is a Scorpio-Saturn-Mars conjunction, which is really intense, okay? And somewhat insane. You with me? Has demonic moments to it, okay? So we're in the archetypes. So, language is a myth. When I say, we're going to enter into it, actually we're in it already. And really help you clarify that. We're completely in it, but we're trying to have it become more explicitly and owned in order to participate in the empowerment of the archetypes that are giving us. The archetypes are power, and yet by entering into it, there's more power to influence our circumstances. Thank you so much. Okay? Yes? If you were to pull your mind into your body right now, love, let's just do that. Let's pull your mind. And you remember last time you were working on your lower body, the sexual center, and you're going to feel the sexual center as a grounding device. That's why at the end, those centers were very important to be focused on. As you're doing that right now, what's happening? Okay, so stay with that.
And unifying uniting with my body.
What does that feel like, to feel your mind uniting in your body?
It just feels like this firm rod or something.
Yes, that's the column of light. You feel the column being activated, but you feel more the conjunctio of my mind and my body, huh? And what's it like to feel that union of your mind and your body, which is taking place where? Through the medium of awareness, huh? There's a medium. Jung himself used to wonder about the medium of, well, if I'm projecting onto Aaron something, I'm the not me part, right? And I'm projecting, what's the medium? And then he began really discovering the field, as other people in traditions, that the medium of the unity is the field. So what's it like to feel that unity in you right now, even when we're talking?
It feels like both strengthening within myself and also an extension.
It's both strengthening and extension simultaneously. That's why there's a strengthening, stronger, and there's more extension, meaning more expansion into us. So you and I can now feel more connected at a level.
Right.
You feel the connection now.
I do.
It's much more for me with you than when we began.
Yeah.
At this moment. Now, as we feel this connection, okay, let's start the focus on action.
Okay.
So, what does action feel like in this modality at this moment?
It feels like an arising. It arises.
Perfect! Perfecto! What I love is when people are describing stuff and there's some classical reference. I feel better. So, there's a self arising that happens naturally. So in this state, action arises naturally. It just arises. But it's not the same thing as impulse, like pissing in the wind, you know? It arises naturally and meets the situation. It's like the water arises between us and an action will take place simultaneously. Now, just what you're describing right now as a very wonderful but ordinary human being is totally doable by you and by me and everyone here. We have to take that sense of self-empowerment totally seriously. We've seen what you've just done, and that's we have to see it, and then we can do it. You with me? We have to take that sort of self-empowerment by that you just did it. And what's it like to know you just did that?
It's realizing that I guess the action emanates from all of me.
Are you in all of you now, or have you left a little bit?
I've left a little.
Okay, so as soon as you leave a little bit,
Yeah.
you want to know when you're not there.
Okay.
So let's go back again. Go back to this. That practice doesn't mean chanting necessarily. Chanting's great. You with me? And it's really good. But practice is here and now in this moment. Praxis, period. Now back down again, all the way down, and describe what you're experiencing again.
Repetition and actually even a stronger sense of presence and power in myself.
A stronger sense, yes, the felt sense. Our guide for this, GUIDE, is the felt sense, huh?
Right.
Felt sense. Because all this stuff has a felt sense quality. It's a very refined felt sense, but there is a felt sense of awareness. You with me? There's a felt sense. It is actually an experience. Even no thingness is an experience. You with me? It's not being asleep where then you wake up and you have no idea. In fact, if you're waking up and you don't know what took place, you want to go into sleep with awareness that when you wake up, you do know it takes place. Now, how are you doing at this moment?
Again, it's just it's almost like this strength is arising up into this area, and my mind is almost I wouldn't say it's along for the ride, but it's a little more taking a cue from
Yes.
here.
It's secondary.
Yes, secondary.
The light is primary
Right.
and the moon is secondary. We want to have a moon, but it's secondary. It's functioning out of the light of awareness.
Right.
That actually is a lot of health to that. Just doing that, it's not so exhausting. You with me? Now stay with that. Now suppose you think, you really think that this is a function of this room alone. See where you're sitting? That's taking place because you're in this room. Okay? What does that mean if you actually have that thought? What happens if you have that unhappy thought? You're now a fucking prisoner. You with me? And it works. It will work here, but it's not going to work any other place. You with me? You've now entered into a prison. Is this a nice prison? It's a nice prison. But it's still a prison. Now suppose you think this is a function of wa, a function of me. What happens to you then? You're in another prison. And we have golden handcuffs between us. You with me? Do you know that? What's it like to really know that? Just in this minute while you're in the field, what's it like to know that? It makes you more aware of your freedom. What's it like for you to be actually so aware of your freedom at this moment, hon? That you're free. There's freedom, liberation out of the experience itself. And it's not merit. It's intrinsic. It's givenness.
It's a kind of a bubbling up feeling of almost wants to make a noise or something.
What might the noise be? Now, go back. We do this a lot. Go back into the pause and feel what's arising from within your body. What sound arises, if any.
If any, it's all of a sudden it's like my throat is opened up.
Opened up. So now that chakra, that center is open.
And it's almost a sense of not being restricted or constrained.
Or contained.
So it doesn't even matter what comes exactly.
Yes. It's like you can say what you want to say because you want to say it spontaneously. You have speech, freedom of speech, and freedom of writing, and freedom of writing. Hint, 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 hint. What? Good. How's the pain? Great. So let's hold the awareness now. So we're going to go back to our little. Anybody want to say anything? We're going to go back to our little chat about archetypes. Yes.
I'm interested in ordinary action. It seems as though quite often when the word action comes up, it comes up with something that seems bigger. And life is filled with like ordinary actions.
Are you moving now?
My hands now and getting up and walking down.
Are you in awareness at this moment?
I'm not at the edge of it right now.
Okay, let's just let that edge. Actually, Merleau-Ponty talks about let the edge come a little further. Just come into your ordinary hands. As it comes into your hands, just your hands, what happens? Or your body, in the most ordinary movement.
The experiences, they become more substantive.
More substantive, yes. That is a great word. This is not an anti-substantiveness thing. You with me? In fact, if you dissociate enough, nothing has substance. That's the problem with dissociation. The people around you have no substance. This place has no substance. You become desubstantiated. And of course there's no substance. And then if you stay with that long enough, you will fall into a kind of a mood where you can't wait to leave. So death starts having a particular appeal for you that you never had before. I'm serious. You can't wait to go. And a lot of mystics have that. That's okay.
Or it's mnemonic. I mean, you don't go to that extreme. There's the dissociative is mnemonic, and it's
Well said.
not terrible. It's not terrible bad. It's not great. You don't have to leave. thinking of so many actions that are just
How's the action right now? Just at this moment.
moving.
And you're looking good too.
Moving.
Just how this how it's
Back into the normonic, and then I have to pause, and it's like,
pause, and then what happens next? As you pause, isn't that pause important? You pause, and then what happens next?
energetic substance presence of my body.
Do you feel the vitalness arising with that simple action? There's more vitalness, huh? Vitalness. That's why the Dakinis always have a cup of blood in their hands, which symbolizes the vital energy in the most simple of actions, huh? Now, what's else happening for you as you pause and enter into and bring forth? What you come does it? You bring it into the edge, that awareness. What's it like as you bring it through the edge of your body? Let's connect to her body as you do. Let's connect to her body. Let's feel her body.
It's an incredible simplicity.
Total simple.
And clarity without direction.
Isn't that a great phrase? Clarity without direction. And I would take it a little more, clarity without fixation. Now I'm leaning into her. And as I lean into her, I feel more grace or more field or more energy, whatever metaphor I would like. But let's just lean into her. As she's entering, I feel fuller. And what's happening for you now at this moment?
The experience is the pleasure of light.
The pleasure of light. And there's a double entendre to that too, isn't there? Both light as luminescence and light as lightness. Dorje Rinpoche would say liberation is light. And he meant it both ways. Feeling the light and seeing it. Now what's happening for you, huh?
Well, it's so engaging.
It is engaging, isn't it? What's it like to feel that engagement, engagement?
There's that pleasure and the vitality and the sympathy and
I'm going to make a comment. When certain traditions think awareness is only emptiness and not the radiance, they're incomplete. They're simply incomplete. He says omnipotently. Okay. Because the radiance is energy. So vitalness, life itself is the radiance of primordial awareness in its felt sense. And so the energy, the energia, Ulysses is not on today, huh? Energia. The energia is part of this. The vitalness is completely a part of it, intrinsic to it. And how are you doing now? At this moment.
there's a quality of intention to attend to the distractions are gazillions.
Yes, yes.
But that is intention.
Now she's helping us a lot. So as we follow the attention to this, we can then hold more, and all the other phenomena will be less distracting. But the first thing she holds is the awareness in the most simple way, and then I can integrate a lot of the phenomena. And as I attend to this, for those of us who suffer from sensitivity, and it's a sensation issue, either not enough sensation or too much, because then if we attend to this, we will be more and more better equipped to deal with the raging sensations around us. You follow me? That's why attending to this dimension allows us to be more sensory integrated in time, which is really important for many people, right? Having a good time? What's it like to be embodied at this moment?
It's so complete. So I was having this experience of, yes, but this isn't enough to be in the world. And so trying to pull that in.
You must pull that one in, because that is a negation. You with me? That is a negation of the state. And it's a negation of this way of perceiving. You with me? Not enoughness. And that negation, and it's very subtle, can take us into grandiosity, okay? But she just, by negating that, it takes us into being exceptional, it takes us into being grandiose, and then once we go into there, that never enough phenomena, that never enough statement is endless, endless, and takes us into the God realm, right? Which is a realm of crashing down and suffering. So that, and she just helped us enormously by that subtle little negation of that thing. Great. Let's just stay with it now at this moment. Now I'm gonna ask you a little question, just as really is a question. Do you feel a little bit of that Vajra Kamara, means that a little bit of being unborn and undying, just a little hint of that, by chance? Or a little bit of agelessness, tiny little bit, tiny little bit.
Yes, this experience has nothing to do with age,
Yes.
and yet it's completely embodied.
Yes. Now she helped us there so directly, so cool. This has nothing to do with age, and it's completely embodied. That is why all these this tradition, to use this tradition, which actually is different traditions, but this one of embodiment and is that it's ageless. So it doesn't matter when you begin. Oh, do you haven't been doing it for 40 years? Oh, do you have been? That is a thinking that way is a stupid state. I haven't been doing it long enough. You with me? I haven't put enough time in. That is an effortful way. You with me? That ultimately has an idea of merit in it. You with me? And merit might be good for some people. You with me? Sometimes, you know, and you know, merit is like getting paid. You know, and I get, you know, please pay me for today, okay? But if you keep it at being paid, it's not going to get you into trouble, okay? It's like an exchange, but actually, you don't really earn this. It's not a question of being a better person, a better dog, a smarter, cleaner thing. You with me? As soon as you think that, what has replaced awareness as the guru is your superego. And there is some validity to this. You can say yes to it for some people, but actually, for what we're doing here, it is not useful whatsoever. You with me? Because we're trying to focus. We're focusing on this awareness. You know, we're not. I'll say this for myself. I'm not a Buddhist. I'm not a Buddhist. I'm not a Buddhist. I practice Dzogchen. And I study everything and anything because I love learning. And I have teachers in everything and anything, but I'm not hooked to being a Buddhist. You with me? Man, I love the Gaudapada Tantra. That's the 8th, 9th century. I love Longchenpa. Love, you know, and I have those connections. But I'm not a Hindu either. No Hindu. I love Hindu masters and teachers. I like Indian food a lot. I love going to. But I'm not. I'm not a Hindu. And you know, I love Jesus, and I love the Gnostic teachings of the incarnation, of incarnating the light. And I love the understanding of the early Christians that Jesus was pointing out with this incarnational drama in all of us. And then in the third 325, it takes over by, and that's a text you get, I put one of the papers in Dzogchen, and then it takes over, well, I'm sorry, Jesus is, when Jesus says, I am the Father and the One, it just means him. And the way to Jesus is through the Pope, and all the way down there. And then you have another thing. And not only that, but if you don't do it, since then, I have to raise the hands like Charlemagne, not Charlemagne, what's his name, Constantine, 325, the Holy Roman Catholic Empire. And if you don't really believe that, we're going to burn you up and kill you and chop you into little pieces and send you back to where. So it's Terra starts becoming part of Jesus. You would think Jesus and Terra combine at this point, okay? Among other things. So I love Jesus, but I'm not a Christian. I'm actually nothing. I'm a no-thingness. I really am no-thingness. Really? And I love traditions, but I love them mixing in me as me. I actually love my opinions. I do. I do. And I like coming into the world with opinions. Kids have opinions. And some of my opinions have got me in deep shit and been really terrible, and I suffered. But a lot of my opinions, like the ones that I love, to me, is that I love the awareness. And I love the light, like most of you guys do. That's why you come here. And it's not because of me, moi. It isn't. And if it is, we're making a big mistake. And it's not because, Skip's a nice person, Lorette's a nice person. We're not coming for social moments. We should go out to dinner. You take that $40. You can have a tremendous lunch for $40. Okay? But we come here because each in our own way, you love awareness. Or as Dzogchen says, really and truly, folks, there's only one thing to be known. Know the one thing, and that's everything. Know the nature of awareness. I really mean this. 11:30. Here we are. Do you love awareness? Now you can be a Buddhist and love awareness. You can be a Hindu and love awareness. You can be whatever and love awareness. Because so all those things are in that particular group. But I like being no thingness. You know? I just like it. There's something freeing about it. And I do love meeting masters. Are you with me? You know? And they can take me or leave me. You know? It's true. Liberation. Being free. Eventually, Baba used to say this, and there's a song called Bhaja Govindam. It says eventually the vehicle disappears. Our talk was on the vehicle. Your talk is on the vehicle disappearing at a certain way. So the vehicle is very important in the beginning, and you want to honor people who are brand new to whatever. You with me? And the vehicle is really important, and the teacher, just like you're a teacher for people, is very important. You with me? And if you're not teaching anybody, what are you doing here? Everybody should be teaching. So I'm asking you guys to do more of that. We don't give diplomas out unless you really need one. There's no ritual to this. We're anarchists. But people actually have to use the self-object function. Right? Raise your hands if you understand that. Yes, that is great. Thank you so much. As you use the self-object function, it's outside of us initially. And it really echoes and mirrors. And the self-object function, to be carried well, you as a self-object have to personify that which you're mirroring, right? More or less. You have to walk the talk. Are you with me? But it has nothing to do with being perfect at all. But as you mirror this to a person, eventually that mirroring, if it's been worthwhile, is internalized. The mirroring function is internalized. Then, first it's outside, then it's inside, and then it's like a mantra inside me. Om Hung, Om Hung. And then eventually, it's not Om Hung. Eventually, it is my own awareness is mantra. You with me? And so I'm slowly dissolving the self-object function that is only my own awareness. You with me? And I should know that. And I was told from the very beginning to know that the Guru wasn't Swami Muktananda, but my own awareness. And that's where we're at. And you don't have to buy this, you know. But that's what we do here. And I like our little center, and I would like to see it continue in time, you know, whatever that means in one way or another. I would like us to have more programs because many of you, when you speak, are very, very articulate. You with me? No one owns this. So that's where I'm thinking we're going. Having other programs where Sharon and I will be teaching less, and if you want to, you guys be teaching more. Are you with me? But there is a view. There's a view. If you like the view, great. If you don't like the view, go elsewhere. Pretty straightforward, right? But the view is not doctrinaire, but it's certain elements about the nature of awareness that's actual. Let's see the people doing in the internet. Steve, how you doing? Can you unlock? Can you come on? We can't hear you. Laura, can you change it? Are we blocking the talk? Oh, we might not be loud enough?
No, Steve needs to unmute his end.
Steve, unmute.
It looks like he has, but we're not hearing you sometimes.
That happened with Witchacom.
Sometimes there's no microphone. He's on his iPad.
Okay.
You need a microphone even somewhere.
Okay.
Still not
Okay, let's see.
Sorry, Steve.
Hi, Karen. How you doing? Karen, how you doing? You can't hear either? Kanu, how you doing? Can you guys talk? No dynamic here.
Speakers are turned down. Did we turn the speakers
It could be the speaker turned down. I may have turned him down last night. Can we turn it up back up? Hello, hello. So here we are. Anybody else want to Anybody else want to say anything? Now, let's do a practice. One of the reasons why I like practices, okay, why would I urge you guys to do practices? And I don't care, it doesn't have to be a Buddhist practice, say whatever practice you like. Say you like the memorare, right? And that's your practice. I think traditions are really, really useful. You with me? So I kind of belong to all of them and none of them. You with me? And they mix in myself because I'm a opinionated person, okay? But I think texts are really useful, but some people don't. But I do think some kind of practice is useful because I think practice around texts, and this is not necessarily for everybody here. It doesn't have to be. But I think sometimes doing practices, texts, I mean, it might be reading, but some book or some text, like say, Dante has a book called De Nueva Vita. You with me? And he falls in love with Beatrice, and Beatrice dies. You with me? And then suddenly life is over with, and then he starts discovering a new life, and he starts writing about it in his wonderful poetic style. You with me? And all of his writings are influenced by the archetypical energies, right? Or you could even look at them as planetary energies, cosmological energies. But something that brings us into the cosmology beyond our mind. Most of these texts that are useful will take you, they're different than psychology texts. Psychology is really great, but you want to go beyond your mind into awareness, right? You want to go beyond mindfulness into the more cosmological view. So whatever that means for you, even Alan Wallace says for him, reading, and he's a brilliant guy, brilliant person, the Institute of Consciousness Studies, what you call him, he's a translator of Durjam Lingpa's stuff, that for him, a lot of the archetypical frames of the Sambhogakaya is quantum physics symbols. You with me? not necessarily little goddesses with 7 heads. You with me? But the symbols of quantum. And he goes, has the same thing. And I've known physicists who have the same experience. They just, they look at that stuff and it invokes in them that which they are reflecting. You with me? Because they're actually thinking with awareness. They have thought, not thinking, right? So what does this for you? And I love some of the Dzogchen texts. I love the Dakini texts. I love them because they help. They're one method of actually invoking that dimension of my own self. So I'm going to read a text to you now, unless somebody wants to say anything. Everybody having a good time today? Doing okay? Are we leaning into each other? Do we feel indivisibility and still having our own minds? Let's do that. I loved your poem you put on, the last one you put on. 2 days ago? Very good.
I can't remember it.
This is good. As memory disappears, you can relate, you can rest in awareness, right? So let's extend to each other. And I'm going to read a Dakini text today. So, how to enter the Sambhogakaya realm, right? There's no one way. We have been practicing Nirmanakaya awareness and for a long time. It's a bit under our belts, I think, right? More or less. So now we're trying to invoke and bring forth. So sometimes it appears as apparitions, right? The Sambhogakaya is an apparition, huh? Gods and goddesses, huh? Or symbols, the symbolic realm. Often the symbolic realm. And the symbolic realm is not a mental thing that have a mental association. The symbol is a direct transmission of that which it's symbolizing, huh? It's infused and it comes directly into us, right? So then dreams, we can have symbolic dreams, we can have manifestations in awake, we can have lucid dreams or just lucidity. Suddenly the event takes place for us. You with me? We can, if we relate another language, so there's the language of the gods and the mythological things, which are cosmological. Ultimately, they are cosmological stories, right? That evoke. They're psychological stories. They will blend the two, but eventually you wind up in a cosmological viewpoint. Astrology is also, all of astrology is basically cosmological, talking about the elements and how they're. And so sometimes knowing, to me, this is not just an infomercial, but knowing the energies where I'm at helps me relate. You with me? I'm in a new dasha now, new dasha. So it's quite different, huh? It's different the dasha I'm in now. It's more mercurial, more fluid. You with me? So now I'm riding that dasha. I can't do exactly what I did in the other dasha. It wouldn't work. So knowing the cosmological energies that are relating to me, through me, and if I can enter that and I can play it according to what's manifesting now, not just because I'm told it, because I'm experiencing it in my body, gives me liberation in the context of these energies. Say yes if you're understanding what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. And then also, there are other ways also, but one way is text. So that's why hermeneutics, fancy word, grew out of text. And there's a paper called How to Read a Text. If you guys could find that and read that, I would really appreciate it, because it's a hermeneutic text on how to read text, that actually something happens and not just our mind, okay? So I'm going to read you a text now. Is it okay? We're almost done for today. Raise your hand if this has been making sense to you today. And if it's not, you should let me know by email. Yes, Tom?
I had an experience once when I was on morning meditation. I just absolutely, totally understood astrology.
Yep.
It was all in form of light.
Right. It's light.
It was like clear that the light is coming from the sun and bouncing
Yep.
off the planets and going into my head somehow.
Yeah.
It's just a marvelous
Yeah.
notion of whole.
Now, I'm going to make a comment on that because I've been thinking a lot about that. When in meditation, it's called Jyotish Mati. When in meditative the light, you will understand the you can understand astrology. If you only go with it in mind, you will never understand it. Now, the sun and the moon, there's a sun and the moon, but the same archetype that's manifesting the sun and the moon is manifesting my heart energy and manifesting the moon. So it's not like the sun is out there. It's back. It is out of the cosmological oneness. There's a sun there, there's a sun here, there's a moon here, the moon. So these are the archetypes manifest gross energies and also subtle energies. And that's why they always say the microcosm is in my body, or the macrocosm is in it. Okay. So now I'm going to read a text, okay? Emma Ho. Let's lean into me and I will do a better job. In order to actualize the beloved Dakini, and Dakini is not only the elements, in the feminine form, in the form of fluidity, it's also direct perception, ultimately. Saraswati, and she's the goddess of wisdom, knowingness. There's a picture of her right there. She has a swan right there. She who brings forth the radiance of passionate joy, sublime joy, co-emergent joy. Because Saraswati knows it's a co-emergent experience. And not only a co-emergent experience between us and the archetypes, but a co-emergent experience between us and each other. I invoke the bodhicitta to become what I am. Om Ahung Bodhicitta Masuka Yana Datu A. Om Namanakaya. Ah Sambhogakaya archetypal. Hum potential space, Dharmakaya, pure creativity. Om Ahung, divinity. All of this is divinity. Bodhicitta means the great compassion. Mahasukha, the great sweetness, the bliss, this bliss that overcomes suffering. Yana, direct perception, gnosis. Dhatu-a, in every situation. That's what it's invoking. If I only have it in this room, so what, right? Or a little chant going on and good, nice, beautiful people. That's a narrow range. It's just a narrow range, right? It's too narrow, right? Za Hung Bam Ho. It's a very famous thing. It's sort of like, come here now, be here now. And there's an authority. Use Zam Hum Bam Ho. There's both reverence, but also you're having to own some authority. The capacity to transmit the light, the energy, is very natural for all of us, and it happens. But there's a certain authoritativeness you have to give yourself. Authorship. Hung Drum E Yam Kam means from the letter E comes a triangular source of dharmas, all phenomena, having the nature of spaciousness. Its top is wide open and its fine tip points downward. And sometimes you can feel these in your body, these different triangles, Especially this one here to here, up to here. In the center of this triangle, within this sphere, S-P-H-E-R-E, is a palace, having the nature of spontaneous presence. And a lot of these texts are always describing human experience as both a palace and a charnel ground, simultaneous. It's both this palace and it's a burial ground with rotten bodies and all the trauma there. And it says, and it's Troti Dakini, the dark mother, the luminous dark mother, divine mother. Hung Ho. The palace is complete in all its inner and outer characteristics. And there is the seat of the deity, the goddess, a place. It's a locus. There is a place, a locus. And there then is the form of the mother, the only mother. So it's saying there's only one mother now. And all the mothers participate in this one mother. Troma, the dark mother, the feminine embodiment of intense compassion. Tromanakpo, the feminine embodiment of intense compassion. She's darkest blue, fierce, magnificently luminous. Her crown chakra is adorned with the head of a grunting pig, squealing, symbolizing ignorance. Just like Lord Shiva is over there stepping on the dwarf, and that dwarf symbolizes, though so close, the not knowing of the light of awareness in one's own being, as one's own being. She has one face and two arms, and she's so fierce and powerful. Luminous energy, luminous, shining darkness. And as you allow this to arise in you, you will experience undefeatableness. You'll feel the entire range of emotions, including sadness and everything else, but you will not collapse. And she's a warrior, not a worrier, a warrior. And she manifests this uncanny laughter, both out loud and within you. So sometimes you actually hear this laughter arising. Her hands hold a knife for cutting through delusion. It means for opening up phenomena, that you experience the light and the energy in everything and anything, in all the dramas. And a skull cup filled with blood, filled with the life force, the élan vital, filled with the vital essence, the life essence. That we hold that, we feel that. If you and I are in awareness, the life essence will be there for us, even when we're deadly sick. Pause. When my friend Peter was dying, when they had to say goodbye, and of course, being the Irish person, we had one last arm wrestling. And all this energy's there, we have this play, the vital energy was there, even as he left, right? Her two hands hold a crooked knife for cutting through delusion, and the skull cup filled with blood, filled with the life force, filled with the vital essence. A trident rests in the crook of her arms, Shiva's ornament. So here this text is saying it has a relationship to Shiva, okay? And it's just as most of these things, there was a great relationship between the tantrics, the Shaivite tantrics, and the Tibetan tantrics, right? They exchanged teachings and understandings, okay? She's dancing. She's in the dancing posture, one leg out extended, the other one bent, like Lord Shiva over there. And she stands within this mass of raging fire. And you can think of Buddha's speech on the fire, the fire sermon. So there's fire. Is there fire right now in this world? Is it on fire? Is this world on fire right now? Huh? Fire. That's the world. Fire. From the letters Hung Hung Harinisa, and it's really Maharinisa, Ma, the space element, top of the head, Ha, water element, white, Re, earth element, opening up, Ni, fire element, Sa, air element. They're most subtle and most intense. These are the elemental self-arising manifest. These are the elements self-arising, manifesting the world, huh? So it's like we're working with the elementalness. Om Vajrayana Pamak Buddha Vajra Kavara Hari Hong. So salutations to the goddess. Hung Ho, from the indivisible celestial land of Kachara. And Kachara is that mudra, huh, where the palate opens. We've focused on that before, right? The Sambhogakaya, the Kachara mantra. Matroma, the soul mother, the Dakini of great compassion, and she's surrounded by all the Dakinis of the different traditions and families. And Kachara is a heavenly realm in our bodies. Sambhogakaya dimension, huh? And they located Dakini realm and the Kachara mudra, the inner palate. That's why we focus on the inner palate a lot, right? The inner palate that opens the door to nectarian states, the womb of the Shakti, the source of the Shakti. So we're going to follow that just for a second. Sometimes they have the tongue touches the palate. And when one person works on this, they work on it for everyone, right? So different people have worked on this for themselves and for all of us, right? Because when we're in the field, what we speak about, there's the transmission. There's the transmission words and letters and the transmission beyond that. The Kachara Mudra. I invoke you, please come to this place. Remaining in the sun and the moon seats. Empower me, your devoted son and daughter. I embrace you with love and the devotion of oneness, not the devotion of otherness. Divine Dakini, in and through your creative compassion and purest love, transform my body, my speech, and my mind into Kadig, means the purity, that purity, my body into that pure body of energy and light, my mind and my speech of awareness. By embracing you, I embrace her, I become you. By embracing you, I become you. And you are awareness itself, stainless space, unbound, luminous darkness. You can also feel when people approach the abyss, right? When the first glance at the abyss is terrifying for all of us. Even if you've been doing yoga a long, long time, the abyss arises. Terror arises throughout the sequence. Terror arises throughout the sequence. Terror arises throughout the sequence. And that's why the working with terror, it does arise, right? And working through terror and entering through terror with awareness is part of the existential drama, right? It's not just in a small, smooth little lake. For good folks. Om Vajravahari Torikale Harinisa Zaza. Namo Vajrakumari. Namo Troy. It's say I'm Vajrakumari means I'm invoking that unborn, undying dimension of myself, which is compassion itself and merciful. From the letters Om Ahung within my heart center, light radiates and touches the outer and inner circumstances. Let's do that now. Feel that extension, the outer and both inner circumstances. So I'm extending this energy from the heart essence into my own body and into the circumstances around me, into the house, into this house. And so the Dakinis bring forth their own divine substance and sing their own melody and experience the bliss of the substances that bring forth in the world. So here this whole thing that substance has its own sacredness, has its own energy. It's like eating the energy of the sky, eating the energies. So when food, substance is energy. So I'm relating to the world as energy. I'm relating to everything and anyone as configurations of energy. And I actually take energy in. So I'm looking at you over there and I'm taking energy into me from you. And that exchange, in the most natural exchange, which is energy. Energia. It is the light becoming flesh. These offerings, these manifestations, are the essences of the root energies of the elemental light. And by combining these activities in this way, either practitioner will easily receive the sublime and both ordinary cities. Sublime cities like transferring the energy to people. Ordinary cities is like Lorette was describing. The ordinary cities of just moving her hands in this way and that way. And the Dakinis use passionate melodies and natural Dakini sign language and writing the secret language on those they love. These offerings are made to the Dakinis. So sometimes you may feel writing on your body, right? Some of you have felt that. It's a very divine little touch, of being belonging to that. So inside the skull cup is a brilliant luminous quintessence of Amrita, bliss, innate bliss. And the Rakta, the blood in the skull cup, contains ripples and vortexes. And the precious sublime container holds the bodhicitta liquor, drops of Dharmakaya, liquid like bodhicitta. And we've felt that, right? That capacity to feel the heart drops and extend that to each other. Raise your hands if you've felt that. Are we sleeping? Everyone should be able to feel that by now, right? We've been working the heart drops, right? That transmission. The Amrita portions have many flavors, such as sour, sweet, and bitter, like life itself. And these unsurpassable inner substances are offered to the Great Mother, the Troma, the goddess of fierce and intense compassion. When they speak about the fierce compassion, it means protection. So compassion is not only the resonance and the transmission of that resonance to each other, the light. The great compassion is also fierce protection. It means that you have the capacity to protect yourself and others, right? It means you're not a sissy. You're not a sissy, right? You have the capacity to protect people, the protection of innocentia. It's very much in the great compassion. The great compassion is actually action. It just doesn't look and go, oh, karma. It's your fucking karma. You follow what I mean by that? Bullshit. They're offered to bring forth the white goddess, the bodily emanations of great bliss, Saraswati. And they're offered to bring forth the red goddess, the speech of missions of sound. They're offered to bring forth the awareness field, emanations of Sangwayeshe. What is Sangwayeshe? Secret, timeless awareness. So when Tom was talking about timeless, about action, what actually Kathy entered to do this at some point was at some point the space of timeless awareness, and Lorette also went into that, because the essence is the sense of timeless awareness in our own body. And from that place of timeless awareness, which is timeless awareness, action arises, self-arises from timeless awareness into the world. That is what action is. From out of timeless awareness, it arises into the world, right? That's why people in certain incredibly horrific things, sometimes that grace arises, the timeless awareness arises in them, and great actions can take place from timeless awareness. So it's timeless awareness. It's not mind in time doing the action that we're talking here. Even the most simple actions are from timeless awareness into time as we develop this art form. A-okay? Say yes if you understand that. Timeless awareness into time. Over and over again. Is timeless awareness deep, deep down? No. Almost done. I ask you to consider me accepting the offerings with love and affection, and please bestow the ultimate realization or ultimate liberation of Sangwayeshe, timeless awareness, and the gift of enjoying the companionship of the Dakinis. This is very important, that we want to have that feeling, even at this moment, that I am in timeless awareness. I'm entering timeless awareness in time as the most ordinary person with all kind of strange qualities and stuff. I'm in timeless awareness in time, right at this moment. And that is the essence of awareness work. That's it. Then, the Dakinis, as they do, they start shouting. They really like it. Ka, ka, kahi, kahi. And then there's an offering of Amrita, the secret mantra. Hung. And I think I sent this out to you guys in that chunk of stuff I sent you guys. Amy sent you all. Hung, the unsurpassable supreme Amrita, the drops, is the substance that brings forth unbound bliss, Mahasukha. I offer this to the host of Mother and all the Dakinis, and please accept this and bestow these empowerments in cities of action, this action. Oma Hung Swa Pensa Amrita Karam Kahi. If you would like to perform hand offerings of Amrita, make offerings by saying the names of the various Dakinis. So sometimes people might even make these gestures. I don't necessarily do that stuff, but some people like making gestures, and you can do that with this text. Oma Hung, this is offered to the wisdom Dakini of the Dharmakaya. Pure potentiality, potential space, the power of potential, quantum point. We can use any metaphors you want. Virtual reality, potentiality. To the wisdom Dakini of the Sambhogakaya, that one I'm courting, right? Because I really want to live and have access to the Sambhogakaya. And if you read this text of it, you read Swami Muktananda's biography or Durjam Lingpa's biography, these are guys who are living in the Sambhogakaya realm. You with me? The battles, their circumstances are taking place, but they solve the circumstances of the Manakaya at the Sambhogakaya level, right? I have an enemy coming at me now in a what you call them? I'm going to deal with it at the Sambhogakaya level. That's where esoterica comes in, right? Now, to the wisdom Dakini of Namanakaya, Oma Hung. To the only mother, the Troma, the goddess of compassion, Oma Hung. Potentia. That's the goddess of potentiality, huh? To the four classes of the secret Dakinis. To the Vijayadhara, Padmasambhava. That's the symbol of the primordial guru, right? Padmasambhava, actually a real person, sort of, but actually it's a symbolic function of that type of knowledge and action, huh? To the Vijayadhara, okay, to the Dakini Yashitogo, Oma Hung. And Yashitogo is the symbol of companionship. True companionship, huh? Like friendship, companionship. Like if we have that here, that kind of companion. To Orjam Tesin Lingpa, that is the yogi through who this text came through. To the Dakini Vajradhara. Vajradhara means awareness holder, or the holder of light. To the Bodhisattvas, to the compassionate root gurus. We can think of all the great root teachers we have, right? To the Terma guardians, that's people who protect this understanding. You with me? To the yogis, to the archetypes that protect it, huh? To the ocean of beings who are all worthy of offerings at Oma Hung. So now we're going to all human beings, all everybody, and sense the Amrita descending and arising from the inner heart essence. So we can feel that energy arising. And if you're in awareness, this will take place. But if you're not in awareness, nothing will happen. Oma Hung, please bestow upon me at this very moment the gifted of enlightened awareness, speech, and mind. O Kaya Soin Speaker Tistasam, almost done. From the sublime celestial land, we're going over. We're gonna end it now because it's 5 minutes after. You want to go on? I'll go on then. If you got to go, you can go. Okay. Through the sublime celestial land of Ogman, the mother comes through the power of compassion. Black Troma, you're luminous and magnificent, wearing the charnel ground ornaments. You raise fire in your hand, dissolving the demonic. I embrace you. O Mohunga, white Dakinis, whose light rays pacify us. Yellow Dakinis, whose laughter enriches us. Red Dakinis, whose passion radiance magnetizes us. Green Dakinis, who release the demonic. Dakinis who blaze wondrously, whose dances change dramatically, so loving, whose laughter enriches. I think we can stop here, though. Great. We can rub our hands together, place it in our hearts. See you guys next week. Yes?
Could I just let people know that my Joy of the Spirit jewelry is going to be on sale at a craft show this Sunday
What place?
at Clara Garden Center on MacArthur Boulevard at 79th Street, John, from 1 to 5, and available any other time by asking me about it.
Great. It's a very nice place, too. Great.
It's a lovely place. It's a nice
Thank you, guys. See you guys next week. So we want to practice some text, if you want to, or whatever it is, but you want to practice however you want to, invoking the cosmological dimension in yourself as your own self. Perfect sharing. Dakini Day Saturday. Dakini Days will be Saturday. Yes, there is. You know, there's a big fight about that because he never put it together. We were supposed to put it together more. It hasn't come through. The website's there. You go to the website, you might be able to get it. I'm going to ask them about it. The website, but it hasn't changed in 15 years. Mo comes up with his own teaching with the software. Me and Mo have been at endings. I have been endings with some people. But you look at it is great. There's parts of it I've read parts of it. Let's see if it's there, and we'd like to have that also be there. You're right, it's wrong. I know. Isn't it amazing? So fast. I'm so excited about that. He was so powerful. It's amazing. It's amazing. And also, I think there's a great Dzogchen master. It's going to be January 9th at on the campus. He's giving the Treco teaching. It's not expensive to stay there. I should make that announcement next week. Thank you. I think he came to. He's also.
But I also think that what Aaron was speaking was his energy.
It could be his energy also. But that's he was great, and he was totally cool how he presented the entire convocation. The most so decorum.
Who's is there now? Is it open? No, the place I'm going, every time that we so I should have hoping we have 15 US dollars. So I bring my snorkel.